Well, hey everybody, Mr. Reeves back with you, and we are continuing to look at Lesson 5.2 in the Math 7 textbook on rewriting percent expressions, specifically with markups and markdowns. So in the previous video, I introduced you to the idea of what a markup was and what a markup what a markdown was, and how to write expressions for those markups and those markdowns. So we went through this example where we had a skateboard, but we said the price was going to be S, which was a variable, meaning it can represent anything either we don't know or a changing value. And we said the markup was going to be 42%, and we said that there were two ways to represent that markup. You could represent it as the original price. Actually, let me go with the colors that I went with. The original price plus 42% or 0.42s when you write it as a decimal. And that entire thing would give you the new price, right? Or the increased price, or what they're calling the retail price, right? So again, our original plus the markup gives the retail price. But then we said you actually can combine those two together because S is the same as 1S. You could see that right there, right? And so you can write it as 1.42S. So this right here is 142% of S. This right here is 100% of S plus 42% of S. So do you see how those two things mean the same thing? So you actually end up having an easier time if you go with this one, because then you only have to do one operation instead of two. But again, S for us represented any price. And then what they did is they said, let's go ahead and let's put in an actual price. Let's say the skateboard was $35. And remember, that number in front of the variable is called a coefficient, and a number in front of a variable means to multiply. So we're going to take 142% or 1.42, and we're going to multiply it by 35. And what do we get? We get 49.7 in our calculator, but remember, that's $49.70. Or what if instead of the skateboard originally costing $35, it originally had a cost of $56? So now we multiply by 56, and of course we get a bigger number now because we're starting with a bigger number, and we get $79.52. So again, if it is a markup, that number will always be greater than 1, right? Because it's over 100%. You multiply the decimal version of the percent times the value. So let's go ahead and take a look. They said the markup is changed to 34%. How does the expression change? Okay, so when you have a markup or a markdown, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the percent and we're going to change it to a decimal. All right, we're going to change to a decimal. And when I change 34% to a decimal, I get 0.34. All right, so if I want 34% of S, then it's going to be 0.34S. And that, ladies and gentlemen, represents my markup. All right, but the retail price is going to be my original cost. In fact, it's right up here. I'm not going to rewrite it. The retail price is my original cost plus the markup. Well, my original cost was S, and my markup now is no longer 0.42S. It is 0.34S. All right, which would be the same thing as 1.34S, or 134% of the original. Get it? Got it? Good. All right, so then we also did some problems. Let's go ahead and go through these, and then we'll get to markdowns. It says Rick buys remote control cars to resell. He applies a markup of 10%. Write two expressions for the markup of the cars. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to take that 10% and we're going to rewrite it as a decimal. 0.10, right? Or you could just do 0.1. All right, remember I talked about this in the previous video. It is 10 over 100, but that is equivalent to 1 over 10. All right, so many times people just leave off that 0 because you don't really need it. I like putting it there to remind us that it was 10%. Okay, so remote controls to resell. So we need a variable to represent the original cost. So the original cost I'm going to put as R for remote control. So what is my new cost? Well, it's going to be the original cost plus what? 10% of the original cost. Okay, the original cost plus 10%. Or I can combine those and say 1.10R. All right, and remember, that 0 there, right there, that 0 there is completely optional, and probably the textbook answer key would not have it. And what this means is 100% of R plus 10% of R. That's what we're doing, right? 100% of R plus 10% of R, or 110% of R. That's what those expressions mean. That's what those expressions mean. All right, if Rick buys a remote control for $28, what is his selling price? Well, what does that mean? That means R is what? R is 28. So now I can go to either one of these expressions. I'm going to go ahead and just go with this one. I always like to go to the second one because it only involves one operation. I'm going to do 1.10 times, but instead of R, I'm going to put 28 because R is 28. Got it? So here we go. So I'm going to go 1.10 for 110% of. Remember, of tells me to multiply 28. And what do I get? I get 30.8. But remember, guys, this is money. 30.8 is going to be $30.80. We're always going to go 2 decimal places. Remember how I was saying that that's optional? It's not optional with money. So what did we just find out? We just found out that 110% of 28 is 30.80. 110% of 28 is 30.80. All right, an exclusive clothing boutique triples the price. What is the boutique's markup percent? All right, so real quick, just some vocabulary. Double means times 2. Triple means times 3. And quadruple means times 4. And if you really want to keep going, quintuple is times 5. I'm not going to go past that, all right? But so it triples the price. Times 3. Well, times 1 would be 100%. Times 2 would be 200%. Times 3 is going to be 300%. I guess I should have put it down here. So what is the markup percent? It is 300%. Now, 300% as a decimal is going to be 3.00, right? If I move the decimal 2 places to the left. All right, so if my original price, so we need the original price, so P is the original price, okay? So that's going to be P plus 3.00P. Or if I combine them, I get 4.00P, right? So what does that mean? That means my markup is 300%. So 100% of P plus 300% of P. What does that equal? That is the same as 400. 400% of P. So if they bought it for $100, they're going to sell it for $400. All right, that's what tripling the price would be. Triple the price. Actually, now that I look at that, if they triple the price, if they bought it for 100, now it's 300. That's actually a 200%, isn't it? Goodness gracious, Mr. Reeves. Gosh, now that I'm thinking about it, right? I just said this and then I realized, well, wait a second. It says they triple the price. So that means if it was $1, now it's what? Now it's $3, right? If it was $5, now it's $15. So it went up not by 300%, it went up by 200% because you have the original plus. All right, so times 3 is 300%, but that's what we want at the end. So we need to add 200%. So 100% plus 200% equals 300%. All right, so their markup is actually 200%, right? So we're going to go 200%, and that's going to be 2.0. So this is P plus 2.00P, or 3P, which is 100 plus 200, which is 300% of P, 3 times the price. This is why sometimes saying things out loud is better than just writing them or reading them, because I did not realize my error until I actually said it and I was working through it and realized, wow, I was making it 4 times as expensive instead of 3 times as expensive, right? I was quadrupling the price instead of tripling the price. All right, well, I'm glad I caught that mistake. And if I were better at videos, I would edit that out, but I'm not. All right, so now let's look at a markdown. Remember, with a markdown, you're going to subtract. So we had a markdown. Let me actually go back here. We had a markdown of 20%. So remember, our expression was our original minus 20%, but we said you could combine that. If you take away 20%, you have 80% left. And again, we did not do any of the computation in the previous video. All right, with the markdown of 20%, we're going to do 80% of, and now they're saying, well, that original price was 16. And again, notice they did not put the 0. I put the 0, but you'll see that we get the same result, 12.8. Remember, in money, that is $12.80. All right, next, 0.80 times 23, and now I get 18.4, but again, in money, that's $18.40. So if you take away 20%, you have 80% left. And then you take that 80%, you multiply it by the original price, and that will give you your discount price. All right, so let's take a look. A bicycle shop marks down each bicycle selling price by 24%. Draw a bar model to represent the problem. All right, so let's see what we can do here. Okay, so the original bar here is going to be P. So P, oh, it said B. Read it, Mr. Reeves. B. B is the original selling price. So this is the original. All right? And remember, if you've been watching my videos, I have been making the original yellow. All right, but then they're going to have a discount of 24%. Actually, I'll do it in blue. Now remember, 25% is 1/4. So I'm going to do my best here. It should be a little less than 1/4. All right, so this right here, that right there is going to represent, remember, 24% as a decimal is 0.24, right? So this part right here is 0.24b. And what about this part that's left? This part that's left here, that part right there, right? And the part that's left, oh, let me see if I can get it just a little bit better. chances are it's going to be worse. When I let go, it always goes up just a little. There we go. Remember, I've been making the part that's left, or the part at the end, pink, right? This part here is going to be our original, which was B, minus 24% of B. Or if this part is 0.24, this part is going to be what? 0.76 B. That's a 7, not a 2. Okay, 0.76 B, right? So again, this is 100%, right? This is 100%, sorry, 100% of B. This is 100% of B minus 24% of B. That's this part right here, okay? Or that's the same as 76% of B. All right, so there is my bar model. We have our original. This right here represents our markdown. And this part right here is our discounted price. Our discounted price. All right, what is a single term expression for the sale price? Well, that single term expression was 0.76 B, 76% of the original. All right, that's what it is, and we would simply take whatever value they told us the bicycle cost and put it there, and we would multiply using a calculator. All right, Jane sells pillows. How fun. For a sale, she marks them down 5%. Write 2 expressions for the sale price of the pillows. All right, this time they didn't give us a letter, so I'm going to put P equals the original price, okay? So we're going to take the original price, which is P, and then we're going to subtract 5%. Now be careful, 5% as a decimal is 0.05, right? Remember, 50% would be 0.50, but 5% is 0.05. Right? 50% would be 50 out of 100. 5% is only 5 out of 100. Do you see that difference there? So P minus 0.05 P, or remember this is 1. Take away that, we get 0.95 P, which is 95% of P, right? That's what's left after you take 5%. All right, if the original price is 15, what is the sale price? So I'm going to take 0.95. That's this one right here. I always use that single one because it just involves one operation. And instead of P, which can be anything, right, I'm going to put in 15. And yes, I'm going to use my handy dandy calculator. I'm going to go 0.95 times 15, and when I do that, I get $14.25. All right, $14.25. So 5% turned out to be 75 cents. They saved a whopping 75 cents because, of course, 5% is not very much money at all. All right, well, that is all I'm going to do in this video. In this next video I make, I'm actually going to work through practice problems from the assignment because that's what I always do in my third and final video. All right, until that video, see ya.